Today we will look for the gospel in the 5th chapter of the 2nd book of Kings. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now the Arameans had, on one of their raids, had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to give death or life that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look, see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger, saying, "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out, stand, and call on the name of the Lord his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. Are not the rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" He turned and went away in a rage. But his servants approached him and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said was wash and be clean?" So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. He came and stood before him and said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel." This is the gospel of our Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. So I don't typically talk about our efforts to salvage the institutional church. It seems smaller than the gospel I am called to proclaim. But I think this story of Naaman's revelation from the prophet has something to say about that. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at this story. I mean, Naaman has some significant achievements to his credit, but I don't think that's as central to this story as we often make it. I've never read this story as a humbling of a man's pride. Elisha says, "Let him come to me that he may know there is a prophet in Israel." To me, this is a story of a man discovering the ways in which God interacts with the world. And like the churches of today, it didn't happen the way Naaman was expecting. So let's take a look at it and see what did happen. At its core, this is the story of a man with a problem his skill set cannot fix. He knows that. He's a great man, but as great as he is, he knows that leprosy is not something he can fight on the battlefield. Prideful or not, he finds it in him to take the advice of someone his culture would have considered significantly below his status. He takes her advice. He seeks the help of a man of God. Naaman loads up his horses, his chariots, to go see Elisha. But even after all of that, he's not really open to discovering what the prophet might do. Between his own words and his servants, there seems to be only 2 responses he would have found acceptable. The prophet could have shown the power of God by waving his hand like a magic wand, or Elisha could have sent him on a great quest to prove his worth for the cure. Either of those would have sufficed. They would have lived up to what he expected of a prophet, but go and take a bath. That didn't. That was too simple. It was almost like you didn't even need a prophet to do it. Weren't the rivers back home good enough? And I think that is the way many of us approach the church. So we would like a magic wand that would make everything better, but we'd be willing to accept a grand quest that proved we were worthy of God's love. We would like our prayers to act as incantations, but we're not above doing some difficult things. You'd think pastors would get the most pushback when we call on the members of the congregations we serve to give more, or to volunteer more, or to pray more, or to study their Bible more, but that hasn't been my experience. In my experience, we don't really have a problem with hearing more demanded of us, especially if it's the kind of tasks we're accustomed to. So we take pride in living up to the need. And to be clear, I really do believe there is a reason for pride in the member of the congregations I serve. Like Naaman, there is a history of accomplishments here. Like Naaman, we now find ourselves with a problem that cannot be addressed with that skill set. Those problems are as varied and unique as the individuals in these churches, but as a whole, as a congregation, there is one issue that stands out about as obviously as the blemishes on Nathan's skin. The viability of our mission, whether it's lack of people or lack of finances. The question is, will the work of these congregations, the spreading of the love of Jesus to the community in word and in deed, will that be sustainable 3 years from now? 10 years from now? 20? If we're honest, it doesn't look good. And I'm not just talking about us in the congregations to which I'm called either. It's almost everyone trying to do this work. If we're honest, the little congregations I serve are ahead of the curve, and even we cannot deny the problem. Trying to would have been like Naaman, denying the leprosy that all around him could see. So like him, we don't. We know the problem. And our once great congregations are typically, like Naaman, willing to listen to just about anyone, no matter how lowly, who will tell us where to find a prophet of the true Lord. I really think we are. I mean, there are congregations that are unwilling to listen, stubbornly go about the things they are doing as if nothing really needs fixed, and the world owes them something because of the great things they have done. But those are not the places I serve. These places I serve always seem willing to take the risk. I've yet to see even one person come forward with an idea, a need, something they want to see in the community, and not be met with a council that was willing to take action. The people I serve are willing to load up the horses and the chariots and go try something new. And in the world of church, that is no small accolade. The question I have is, what are we expecting of a prophet when we find one? See, I think most of us, myself included, would like someone to call on the Lord, wave their hand like a magic wand, and make it be better. But let's be honest. As nice as that would be, as much as that is what we want, most of us are realistic enough to know that's not what we should be expecting. Most of us are expecting to be commanded to do something difficult. Most of us are thinking of some extraordinary program we will do that's worthy of splash pages online and newspaper articles that will bring people running. Most of us are thinking of something that will match the exploits that built these places. So would we accept a simple command? Just go wash be clean. Because that's what the research shows about congregations that do revitalize. It's not the grand programs that do it. It's the simple daily tasks. Just be a people of faith. Not just in here, be a people of faith in the community. That doesn't mean you wave your crosses around and make prayers in the public square. Just be people of faith. Trust in God till it can be smelled upon you. Trust in God so that you are able to be honest in all that you do. You can cry with unmitigated courage when the world almost breaks you. You can laugh with unbridled joy when the occasion comes. You don't need to live your life squeaky clean, but you never really stoop to being mean. Just be a person of faith in all the little things. Let that light so shine before you that the world sees it and wants it. That's the glory of God. I know it seems too simple. It seems like a prophet wasn't even really needed. Can't we do this without faith? Weren't the rivers of Damascus good enough? And maybe yes, but this is what the prophet told us. This is how the prophet in here, like all the problems we take to our Lord, the prophet told us in this place, it may not give us a healing in the form for which we had hoped. That's true also. It may not be an institutional revitalization. But if we wash, we will be clean. Of that we have been assured. I know the people with whom I serve. I know we are willing to do the difficult things. Let's do the simple thing and see what God has in store. Let's do this simple thing. And trust that our lives are in service to the Lord our God. Let's do the simple thing and see what God does.